This is the Roxanne Show. Get ready. It's time to rise. How do I get more into my feminine, right? Because this is such a thing right now, and I say that with compassion and I understand. Mm-hmm. How do we guide them? What are some practices like? Let's do it this way. Let's start with the woman who doesn't even realize that she needs it yet. What are some of the things that show up, in her life, her experiences?
I felt that in my body as you said that, because I think there's so much collective grief that comes up for us as women around what I love to speak to is like the little girl we left behind. And I say in the book, like, we have to go back for her. We have to go back and say, oh, my love, I'm sorry I left you.
Yeah.
You were so perfect exactly as you were and are. And, I think following the breadcrumbs of our bliss and just attempting to rediscover, like, who was I before the world told me who I needed to be? What did I love? What did she love to do? What did she love to explore? Yeah. I think, when I'm most in my feminine, I am in that childlike space of wonder, and like life gets to be fun.
Yeah,
I'm having fun, right?
Yeah,
like that's how I know I'm in my feminine. I'm like having a lot of fun, right? And there's so much about that we're just really conditioned to feel like is silly and naive and like unnecessary and all of these things. It's the most necessary. And it feels like breathing. It feels so easy, but it's just like giving ourselves permission.
Totally. One of these, I wrote this too, but I put this out a while ago. Like, one of the ways to support women to evoke more of your feminine energy, to come into it more, flirt with yourself.
I love that. Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what? And oh my gosh, it was a hit. When we were like, this feels like something that feels right, but fuck, how do I even do that?
I love that.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
I love that.
How would you guide them?
Yeah, because I think of, when I think of like divine feminine energy, right? Like what that is, to be in that energetic, it's a woman who is just so falling in love with life and herself and this love affair of like sampling all the Raja and like just moving through this world. Really, there's something about that phrase, like flirting, yes, with myself, but with life.
That's the thing,
right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the part. That's the sensuality piece too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm so happy that you say that. And I say that because the women that I know listening to this, like, can feel that that's the part you have to let go. And it's this interplay with life where you're just like, oh, you're dancing, you're feeling like it's light, it's free, it's curious, it's creative.
It's fun. I think there's something in just understanding you can't get it wrong. Like, can't get it wrong. You're never going to be done with the exploration of who you are. But I think little things like, what does sensuality feel like for me? What are like really pretty, like I bought myself this ridiculously expensive underwear when I was in Mexico, and I was like, for me, like I want this for me. Yes. I want to like traipse around in this beautiful underwear for me, right?
Yes.
And just loving the way it feels to be in love with myself.
Totally.
Is such like the potent reclamation.
Right. It's the ultimate opener, because when you can really, I talk to myself all the time. I mean, I'm in a relationship with myself. Like, there is a bond here.
Most sacred relationship of this lifetime.
Truly.
Yeah.
And so when you get to that place where it's just comfortable to, like when something that I talk about very often, because I think it's so important and it's so almost underrated, is self-compassion. That is self-compassion. So how I frame it, I actually try and put a little edge to it. Not that it needs it, but it is a very edgy thing, because it's not easy. It's like a high performance tool, because self-compassion allows you to be a human. It allows you to have the messy moments and not become them, right? You can experience them, learn from them, hold yourself, move through them. That self-compassion is like, I'm not here to be perfect. I don't even know what the fuck that is. I'm just here to experience, to learn, to grow, to expand.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'd love for you to talk about self-compassion, because I think that's such an important
Yeah, I talk about the tools in our toolkit a lot. And I think to me, radical self-compassion is the one game-changing tool of my lifetime. Every aspect of my life changed when I decided I get to be a work in progress. I get to be imperfect. I get to love myself through it. And I forgive me over and over again, forever and ever, amen. I often say, like, I forgive myself for the woman I was 5 minutes ago, who was a totally different person, and she's forgiven, right? Like, it's perfect. And I don't believe in mistakes, and that's often a like big statement. I don't. I think every messy aspect of my path up to this point, like, I needed it. I needed that to become the woman I've become. And so God bless her younger self, like, she was perfect. She was exactly like working it out, right? And I think that that's the thing. Like, if we understand, again, we didn't come here to be perfect. We came here to learn and to be and to explore and expand. Then, of course we get to be compassionate with ourselves. It's like, I think a lot of times I think of it like if you think of a toddler that's like learning to do all of these things in the world, right? And you will say to a toddler, like, don't touch that stove because it's hot, right? But they've never experienced hot. So sometimes they have to get burned to know hot. And then it's like, I understand hot now, but you wouldn't like yell at that toddler for not knowing what they don't know. You'd be like, you're learning. It's okay. And that's hot, right? But we don't really do that with ourselves a lot of times, right?
There's a larger tendency to be an asshole to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why I think self-compassion is actually more badass than people see it, because it's easier to be an asshole to yourself than it is to just hold space and hold that compassion for yourself as you're being a human, going through the human experience, and, like, you know what I mean? But when you actually can pull on that self-compassion and, like, actually really, like, have that be normal for you to live with this attribute, I really think it's actually like a superpower. It changes everything. And I love that you point out that you can't get it wrong. I have a quote: you can't make a wrong move when you make a true move, and those are the only moves that come from the heart.
Beautiful.
So it's like when you ground into the heart, I mean,
that's beautiful.
Right? Like this whole right, wrong, good, bad. I mean, I know that can be a bigger conversation, but it's all judgment. And if you're just judging the whole time, how are you fucking learning? You can't.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that keeps us stagnant in life more than anything else is we're just so afraid of getting it wrong. But even that is an aspect of a wounded masculine paradigm that's taught us that there's a right way to do life. Like, who is living this right life? Like, I don't know anybody who's like got it all figured out and has never made, like, who is this person, this imaginary person moving through the world that way? It's just not real. And I think if we understand that it's actually so much more productive to be in the space of forward momentum than it is beating ourselves up about what's done. It's like, it's done. So let's move forward. But we will get in this stagnant space of, you know, being really hard on ourselves. And I don't really love to live there because it's just not productive.
Right. And I think I'd love to hear your experience, your thoughts on this, but especially professionally. I wonder if I imagine it might come up a lot, but I find that guilt and shame are two of the biggest detriments and roadblocks, and it just stops people from evolving in ways that they're here to evolve and, like, connect with their higher self. Like, it just stops everything.
Yeah. You know, I think, and to me, there's an important differentiation between guilt and shame, because I think that guilt is something that can be information and actually useful, because we will feel guilty sometimes. Well, sometimes it's not useful. sometimes it is, right? Like, that is the thing that keeps us a lot of times connected to our soul and our humanity. If we could just do all of the things in the world without ever feeling bad about it. Like, even when I say I don't believe in mistakes, but then what do you do when you know that you've missed the mark, or you feel like I've harmed someone unintentionally, or whatever the thing is? Hopefully guilt becomes an indicator of that. Shame is sort of like the experience of that is who I am. So guilt is sort of I did a bad thing. Shame is I am a bad person. And I think it's really important to differentiate between the two, because I did a bad thing does not equate to that's who I am. And I really think we need to keep that at the front of our minds when we're in that space of like, yeah, we are going to fall short. Just because we don't believe in mistakes doesn't mean that I move through the world being exactly who I want to be at all times. Like that's not human either, you know?
That's such a great differentiation and such an important point. Thank you for sharing that. Sure. Yeah. That, there's so many things. I want to ask you, what was your favorite part of writing the book, if there was a favorite part? Is there a part that stood out, or
like my favorite part that's in the book? Is that what you mean?
Let's frame it as you're, because I know as a writer, what unfolded for you in your life? Like, what was there a part of the book that, I don't know, impacted you in some?
You're like, I'm a writer, so I know there was one. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. There's a part in the book where as something started to click for me, and it was a little bit, I was talking about avoidant energy, and you have to read the book to know what I mean. But there's a point where I talk about, a woman who was a client of mine who, you know, was having an affair. There was infidelity in her marriage, and she just became sort of obsessed with this person. And the way that she and I started to understand what was being evoked within her, why energy is so different based on the person that we're in relationship with, and how much it is bringing us back into right relationship with ourselves in the most beautifully orchestrated way. And what's so fascinating about these dualities and about how we inevitably create polarity in our relationship dynamics, regardless of who we're relating to, is that it will show us ourselves. And if we're willing to see it that way, it becomes such a source of empowerment. So all of the, there's so much conversation again in the cultural zeitgeist around like avoidant energy and, like, I don't know, like what do people say, like golden retrievers versus black classes, like all this stuff, right? And I'm like, what? It's like, it's fascinating to me. I'm like an old lady, but joking. But there's all these ways that it's sort of like, these are the people to avoid. These are the red flags. Right. And it's like, all of it is information. It's all perfect. But how do I really notice whatever this relationship dynamic is evoking within me and use it as sort of my superpower, as my way to like, oof, this is showing me something I really needed to understand. So I think when I started to like connect the dots on, oh, this is like, if this person hadn't interrupted this pattern for her in the way she relates, she would have drawn him in, and it would have been the same dynamic she had with her husband. But because the universe was like, we're not doing that again, she had to like really be confronted with her own shadow work and doing some of that stuff that she'd been able to brush under the rug because her husband had, just sort of been that go along to get along compliant partner.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this is fascinating. And it was
That's so rad.
Exciting. Yeah.
That's so cool. Is there anything that now, after having written the book, is there something that you would add to the book now?
Oh, I love that. That's interesting. Nobody's asked me that. I love that. I don't think so. Honestly, it feels complete. It feels like where I was at this stage of understanding of all of this. I feel like there's more things that are coming up about our relationship. Some of what we were talking about, like the self-pleasure and like the just all of the things around like how we reclaim our womb space as women. Like I'm sort of in that realm and fascinated. Yeah. But I think this feels like the beautiful first step or like like the entry point for a lot of those things. And so it feels complete.
Are you in conception right now? For another.
I mean, you see my 46-year-olds on my hope not, girl. Damn.
That was so
I love that you read my mind, and I was like, oh.
Oh my gosh. With another book.
Perhaps. It's anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some ideas percolating that I'm excited to play with a little bit. As as a writer, you just sort of like start like jotting constantly.
Well, I feel like I can answer that question.
Are you in conception?
Oh God, there's 3 books right now. I started one. I'm on the second one right now. Yeah, but the reason why is, again, it's not, your book doesn't, to me, it's not coming just from, you know, your experience professionally. I mean, we talked about that, but I can feel the depths of you in your book. And
Thank you.
You're a deep thinker. You're a deep liver. You live very deeply, and you ask questions, and you're receptive. You're open, and so you're conduit. So you are receiving, and I feel like there is totally another book coming that I'm already so excited about.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, truly.
What's your sun sign? Are you?
I'm a Gemini, Sagittarius Gemini.
Okay. I feel your Sag a little bit.
Do you feel my Sag? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Manifesting generator 3-5.
Beautiful.
What about you?
I'm a generator. I'm Capricorn, but I'm sort of Capricornius, but
Capricorn.
a lot of Scorpio energy too. So.
Oh, there you go. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it all. It's all so fun. You know, it's interesting. I thought about this a lot. I've been in Dene's world for days, which is like some of my favorite part about podcasting with guests is just really getting to go deep into your world. This is not where I was going to go, but I have to insert this. This morning I was listening to an episode that was so good with you and Dr. L. God, what was his name?
Oh, Dr. L.
No, it's like there was a doctor. He was saying something. You were on this. I have to just put this in because I was busting up laughing. He goes, you know, you were in the realm of the conversation about like not needing somebody else to complete you. And he was like, you know, I was on my bike and I was thinking, because he was single at the time, he's like, I was thinking, I'm alone and I'm sad. And then he goes, no, I'm not. He was sharing with you a conversation with himself where he realized that that's a fucking lie. Like, no, I'm not. I feel good right now.
I'm like, what's this? I'm fascinated.
Oh my gosh. No, let me pull it up.
I don't remember this.
You guys, you have the best energy. Like your rapport was so fun. Oh, Dr. Scott Lyons.
I gotta tell Scott is a very good friend of mine.
I felt, oh my gosh, I love this conversation.
That's beautiful. Wait till I tell him, because we fell in love in that podcast conversation and we've just been really good friends ever since.
I felt that you guys were just fully connected. It was so fun to listen in on your connection, but that part where he's like calling bullshit on himself. I just saw the visual of this guy like on his bike saying, no, I'm not.
And he is like the funniest human ever. I love it. Good. Oh, that's amazing.
Thanks so much for listening, you guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review.